Well, welcome to the Sherwood Oaks podcast. My name is Sean, and each week this summer we are bringing you interviews with people about what it means to put our faith into action. As a church, we value telling life-changing faith stories because we believe that they inspire us to live out our own faith in everyday life. And so this is our 6th episode, and this week I am excited to sit down with Daniel and Erin Moore. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah. How you feeling about being on this? A little nervous?
A little nervous.
Yeah?
Just a little bit.
But good, yeah.
Well, I see this as kind of a part of putting your faith into action.
That's right,
Yep,
for sure.
We will step in and we will do this. So
right.
Why don't you all just start by sharing a little bit with us about who you are?
So just briefly, I'm Erin. This is my husband, Daniel. And we, we've been in Bloomington since about 2000, about 1999.
Yeah.
So a little while. We both came
Yeah.
for school. We met our freshman year of college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then got married a few years later. So we've been married about over 20 years. And so came here for school. I went to graduate school and just ended up staying after college, after school, after our studies. So we have 3 children, and Daniel works over at Root Advisors, and I was working Rootworks.
Yeah.
Okay, I was working full time in ministry, but then to be home with my children, it was a lot of hours. So to be home with my children, I left, and now I work doing personal training at a gym around the kids' schedule. So that's in short.
Yeah. And Erin, where did you grow up?
In northern Indiana, so like in the Chicagoland area. We're both from the Chicagoland area.
All right.
Region Rats.
What is it?
Region Rats. That's what we got. Yeah, from the region. Yeah.
All right. Well, so tell us a little bit about your faith journey. Everything from like what led you to start following Jesus. Did you grow up in the church? Did you come to faith later? Who are maybe some spiritual influencers in your life? Just share a little bit about that for us.
So I was raised in the Lutheran church, but my family was very faithful to the Lutheran church. So every Sunday, and I grew up learning about the gospel. So I knew that Jesus had died on the cross for my sins. I went to Bible camps every summer, but growing up never really had a personal relationship with Christ outside of church, if you will. And so I came to faith in college. So I have a very clear before and after. So I came to faith during my college years, actually right after undergraduate school. A friend of mine invited me to church. At the time it was Lighthouse Community Church. So I think where the old Sherwood Oaks used to be on Winslow. Right. But we were over on 2nd before buying that building. Anyway, so she brought me to church, and then the rest is history. So I gave my life to Christ at Lighthouse Community Church, and then in my early
So that's
20s.
when your faith went from being like just a head knowledge and this is what I do on Sundays to like, no, Jesus is now Lord of my life, not just my Savior. He's really the leader.
Yes, when I really began to understand my faith and a personal relationship with Christ and what it meant to follow Christ and what His Word was saying to me, it became very real in my life, and I became convicted about all the things, and I definitely have a before and after experience. So, and Dan, he can explain his own story, but we got baptized on the same exact Sunday. So we're like,
right.
Spiritual twins.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it, exactly.
She's old. Wait. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
But
anyway.
So similar to her, well, unsimilar in our childhood. I did not grow up at church at all. So, from the upper part of the state, the region, East Chicago is where I'm from. And I had influences, like I had grandparents who were in the Baptist church, but I would go to vacation Bible school sometime in the summer with my grandma, when I was in elementary school. But fast forward to college, from there, high school wasn't active at all. Got to college, and there was some loose morality that I knew about, that I know I should do some things that I was exposed to. Of course, college, you just, everything's there. So, but I started to wrestle with those questions in college. Why shouldn't I? Why does this feel like this? Why is it, and there was a Bible study on campus that I started to go to, and it was these guys that I would play basketball with, and they would just invite me. So I started to get, like my wife said, convicted at that time, and then one thing led to another. I asked the guy one time, should I get baptized if I believe? He's like, yeah, you should. And I'm like, oh, because I wanted him to say, no, you don't have to. But he's like, no, you got to make it, it's a public display of faith.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. So I ended up coming, and, we both went to that Sunday church together. And then we didn't talk about it before. We just kind of it was just like an altar call. And it was like, I need to get up. And so she came up, and then we just did it.
Okay. And you guys were dating at that point?
We were,
okay.
yes.
Okay, so it wasn't like you met in the waters. And
no.
No,
that
okay.
was a cool story.
Nothing like that, yeah.
Like, hey, you look kind of good. Right. Yeah.
So what I love about both of your stories is that they involve friends who just, like, helped you along the way.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't like this big evangelistic presentation or moment. It was just along the way, type evangelism.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So you all have been married for a little over 20 years, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And someone asked me recently, Sean, how do you know when the person that you're dating is the one? And I always encourage people with some advice that I've received. But how did you all know that you wanted to spend the rest of your lives together, or are you still trying to figure that out?
No.
I mean, I think it's such a hard question to answer because I don't think it's like you don't know what, when you say like I do, what's in store for the rest of your journey. It's like had you known on that day, I mean, you just don't know. And I think just seeking Christ, because he will not lead you in the wrong direction.
Right.
If you're not sure, just the Lord will show you. That's what I believe. The Lord will show you. Like, no one can really answer that for you. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think there is a good answer. Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, I praise God that it's worked out, but I don't know if there's really like
right.
I mean,
I think that the question also presumes that there is that one. Like, and if you missed that, then you missed. But it's knowing like, oh, we're compatible.
Yeah,
and we're good. We are going to have our differences, but we're going to be able to. We have enough togetherness that we're going to be able to work through those differences.
Yeah. I think with him, I know I just saw a humbleness and like a loyalty. So early on, those were things that attract, like he wasn't out to be cool or the cool kid. He was just very humble, very kind of not naive, but just a good guy. Yeah. Honestly, my dad always taught me, character, someone's integrity is the most important. Yeah. And so I saw those things and I was like, okay,
So it was, you had some values in your mind of what you would be looking for in that life partner.
Yes.
So for me, always looking back, I say 2020 is always, hindsight always 2020. Right. But I learned early on, and I was around some men, let me back up. I had mentors at that time in my life when I was a baby saint. And they were all married, and I would ask questions about, man, what is, because right away we were getting serious, and I wanted to get to the point where I could ask the question and but I felt like, can I do it? And they would encourage me a man needs to be in the right position to lead. Yeah. And so once you're in the right position to lead, he will confirm what choices you make, especially this one in your life. When you feel as though you're being tugged that way towards a woman, and you're in a position to serve and lead, he will confirm. That's what he did with me.
Yeah, so that's really wise. So it is less about the other person being the one, but you being the one for the other person, you being ready to step into that relationship as well. Yep. Yeah, guys, that's great. So marriage, especially 20 plus years of marriage, I'm sure you have your share of great times, lots of laughter, but I'm sure there's also been some painful times, some challenging times as well. How has your faith guided you through some of those challenging moments in marriage?
I would say that the number one, I think I'm always going to go back to this, is putting Christ first. Because without that focus, there is no other answer to the question. And people want to hear like a magic word or cure, and there is just not. If you are not fully leaned in to Christ and the word and what his will is for your life, it's not going to work. I mean, it's just, there's no other answer. And you cannot look to your partner to solve, you can on this earth, our partner is here for us in those practical ways.
Yeah.
But you cannot lean on your partner for the needs that Christ is supposed to meet in your soul and heart.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point.
you know, you have to. So as an individual, you have to really lean into the Word, lean into Christ, and He'll show you. And the same for the other partner, because if you have one or the other that's not leaning in that direction, there will probably be problems. But if you have two people that are willing to really just check themselves and dig in to the Word and seeking God's will, things will come to a resolution. You know, some practical things are finding other couples in the church that are more seasoned, that have been married for a long time, getting with some other people with similar values that can really walk alongside you and be like, hey, we've been there. Just having fleshly people that can walk you through that.
I know. Amber and I were a part of a life group a while back, and they were all couples that were older than we are by quite a bit.
Right.
And it was so nice to have that wisdom to lean into and to see how they navigated through some of those challenges. It gave us hope as we navigated through some of our own, honestly.
Piggybacking off what my wife said, just you know, to know that you have the biblical backing. So a three-strand cord is not easily broken. The Bible talks about. So for me, now, like she's saying, I always understood God's always used her in my walk with Him. Like He's used her as a conduit for me. I know that's some guys. This is my personal testimony. Like, so He's always spoken to me through the shade of my marriage, like the seasons we've been through. So I've always been able to understand Him more in the Word based upon, you know, this journey. So my sanctification, marriage is always that type of thing.
It's one of the reasons why marriage is a gift of God and making us holy.
Right. So
absolutely.
that's for me. And then my call as a husband is, Paul said, is a secret, but he said it's a great mystery. He said, I'm actually talking about Christ in the church. So the husband and the wife is a mirror on earth of what Christ is to His bride, the church. And when I got that, I'm like, okay. You know, and then you get the weight of the responsibility that you bear to lead.
That's right. You look at that Ephesians 5 passage. Oftentimes, what gets the highlight in the headlines is wives submit to your husbands. As the church submits to Christ, right? But really, when you look at it, it's also in husbands, lead your wives, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Well, how did Christ love the church? Sacrificially, willing to lay Himself down for it. And so, that is the responsibility that we have as husbands. Absolutely. And that gets you through some of those challenging times when you're kind of mutually submitting to one another in love and living out your faith. Not looking, Erin, you said it really well, not looking to the other person to give you what only Christ can give you. And I think that when you have a deficiency in your heart and in your soul that you're looking to your spouse to fill, then that you're always going to see them as inadequate or not enough.
Yes, absolutely.
So another challenge that comes along oftentimes is kids. You know, kids, and same with a lot of joy too. You know, they add joy to our family, but they also add some challenges.
For sure.
How old are your kids?
At home we have 15 and 17.
Okay.
So it's great
sophomore,
times.
Well, actually, sophomore, senior now.
Sophomore and senior. So you all are in the thick of it
for sure.
right
Absolutely.
now. How are you helping your teenagers navigate the waters of our culture while also encouraging them to follow Jesus and to find their own faith?
I know. It's a lot, and we're learning, every day. Each child's different, as everyone probably knows. Each child you have to kind of teach and deal with differently. But with our kids, we've tried to really just first and foremost lead by example. I mean, because if you're doing and saying one thing outside, in the home, and then first outside, that's not going to work. We've just always tried to.
It's incongruent. They're going to be like, does this faith even matter?
Exactly. Our relationship with Christ is real, and is real at home wherever we go. So that comes into play with what we watch on television, what we listen to, all those little things, and the kids are watching.
Yeah.
And so we've seen the fruit of that, where our kids, you know, they're
not
teens,
perfect.
but
Right.
but making wise decisions, or understanding, teaching them what the discernment of the Lord is, so they can see things in a spiritual light and not just for the way they are. So they understand, if there's someone at school that's doing this, this, and this, well, that person may be hurting, like helping them to understand spiritual versus natural. And again, just living it as an example, honestly, is half the battle, I think, because when they see, well, mom and dad, like, this is not a joke, they can have trust in their Lord that he is who he says he is. You know, I do think incongruencies can lead to problems, and honestly, just trusting God with your kids, because there's some days where I'm like, well, Lord, they're yours, you know, and I can't, as much as we try, you can't control everything in their world, and it is hard, because times are hard for our kids. We do the best we can as parents, like I said, you know, with you know, things we can
Devices,
control, we do not, we don't play around with that.
Right.
But there are things you can't control. So.
Yep, absolutely.
But
Daniel, anything you want to add
No,
to that?
just everything she said. We just have open conversations, age-appropriate conversations, and examples from our own life. Now, we grew up in a different age where we tried to explain. There was no Google. There was no, they'd be like, oh.
I know. What are you talking about?
You know, we had beepers and quarters you put in phones. Like, well, what is that? You know, but, you know, we just try to, you know, meet them where they are. And then you said on, actually, I think you interviewing somebody else, more is caught than taught. So I know as a level, it's going to, I'm not going to see visually on their faces that they're listening, but I know they're catching it. What we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found that even in, like, living out the gospel in front of my kids can sometimes also mean going to them and asking for their forgiveness. And saying, hey, I'm sorry. That's not who I want to be. That's not the dad that I want to be. Can you forgive me? And
I've had to do that.
And showing them what it looks like to give grace, but also then hopefully what it means to receive grace. So one of the things that we're navigating right now, and so this one might just be for me, but having older kids, teenagers, when did you let your kid get a phone for that first time, and what thinking or faith went into that decision? You know, our girls are 10 and 11, and according to them, everyone has a phone, Dad.
Oh yeah, we've heard it all.
How did you all navigate those waters?
So again, every child is different. So for our daughter, it was different than our son. But again, we hold pretty firm lines on certain things, and that is one of them. So, but same thing, like when they were 10 and 11, apparently everyone in the universe, like even like 5-year-olds, I don't know. Apparently everyone.
Walking around with brand new iPhones.
Right.
Yeah. So we were able, with our daughter, she got her phone when she was 13, her first phone when she was 13, and our son was 14.
Okay.
But we handed them the phones we removed the internet on it. We removed, the phone is almost like there's no point in having a phone. So
it's
all
like
they can
just
do,
a phone.
They can make phone calls out, they can text, but we even limited their text to only contacts that we knew. I mean, we literally stripped their phone.
Before we gave it to them.
Before we gave it to them. And it was just, we were just up front. So before, you don't hand a phone and then be like, oh, by the way, no.
It's easier to give than to take back.
It was very clear lines ahead of time. Like, they already knew where we stood on everything.
Exactly.
Because we have these conversations as they're growing up. So it was not a surprise. We have very firm boundaries. They don't run our house. We do. And you know, and so we have very firm boundaries and lines with certain things.
Social media.
Certain things. So they already had that understanding. And so when they got the phone, they were happy. They weren't like, oh, it doesn't have this and this. As they've gotten older, we've added some things, like allowed some new contacts to come in on their phones. We haven't added, internet will probably never be on there. I just don't think that's wise
for right now,
to have unfettered access to the internet for any teenager. So. But 13 and 14. I mean, if we could have waited longer. To me, forever. But but we did. But we took all the things off of it. So, and I think a lot of parents aren't aware of all the things you can do to
skate around.
And to guard your phone. Like we have friends that don't have any limits on their phones. Like, no, you have to go in and do those things, because even though your child's not looking for it, it will find you.
It'll find them.
It will find
it's
you.
pretty easy.
Yep.
So what are some ways that you all serve together as a couple? I know that this is pretty integral into your life. Right. So yeah, what are some ways that you all serve together as a couple?
Well, currently.
Yeah,
we have the marriage 911 is what it's called in Sherwood Oaks.
Marriage 911?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is a ministry by Focus on the Family. It's a book, I have it right here, by Joe and Michelle Williams. It's about their journey through a lot of struggles in their own marriage, and they recorded in detail in different chapters, 12 weeks. So it's basically my wife and I meet with a couple, and for 12 weeks I meet with the husband, she meets with the wife, and we go through these steps or chapters in this book and workbook that actually walks them through different things, like developing boundaries, handling conflict, learning communication, relearning communication, things like that.
Yeah.
That's basically it's designed to pull them back from the cliff.
Okay.
And then we point them to counseling.
Okay.
So it is not, we're not counselors,
No, we're not
but
you're there almost like triage.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Wrap
on
up the
scene.
bandage and then
911.
send them to where it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, they need to get professional counseling in addition.
Yeah.
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 But again, it's just a matter of having a couple. I think a lot of couples are afraid to come forward, especially in the church, because of how they may be seen at church, in church or in the community, and we just don't want that to be a stigma.
Yeah.
Because if you're having trouble, you have to reach out.
Yeah.
Sometimes
so
you just
good.
have to reach out.
Because we want to come into church and think everyone around us has it together, and so I need to feel like I've got it all together, pretend like I do, when they're probably faking, and which is going to cause you to fake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But really, I think where the Holy Spirit can do the most good in our lives is when we're just real and honest, and then He can come in and bring that kind of healing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we have just a couple of minutes left. Why is it important to put our faith into action by serving? And then, especially for you all, what joys have you found in serving together as a couple?
Well, I think just our testimony and our years together, you bond in that, and that what you've been through or the things you've gone through, the experiences you have, maybe it all hasn't been in vain. You can use what you've learned and your experiences, and you can really help other people. I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. And looking someone in the eyes and saying, guess what? Like, we've been there, we've done that. There is hope. And just giving people, we've met with couples before where like they sat there on the first meeting we always meet together, then we split, but like with no hope. Like they're like, you know what, we already have our papers in the courtroom and this, but just looking at them and saying, oh, no, like, with God, with Christ, anything is possible. I mean, for sure. And just seeing that glimmer of hope, they're like, okay, but we'll give it 12 weeks. And it's just incredible to see like the transformation.
That's really cool.
This is a meaty, a very meaty curriculum. It doesn't tread lightly. It's good stuff. And so just
which
watching
is what
them,
people need. You know, you don't need fluff
no,
when
and
you're in
people
that
need
position.
Realness and, and to know that they can be vulnerable and they're not going to be judged for that. And there's other people that have their backs, that we're not going to be like, oh, no, like
you'll be able to share. Oh yeah, let me tell you about the time that we were in that place or went through something similar, and like you said, it becomes very redeeming, and healing.
It does.
Practical. So I know we don't have much time, but one of my life verses since I've grown in my marriage and we started this, I believe the Lord gave me this in my spirit. Luke 22:31 is the when Jesus came to Peter and he said, Satan has desired to sift you as wheat or to have you, but I pray for you that after you're converted, you will turn around and strengthen your brothers. So he actually was already foretelling Peter, listen, I know you're going to stumble because the enemy wants you, but you won't go away. I have you. I pray for you. But after that, I want you to turn around and I want you to help others.
Man,
that's kind of what drives us that way.
And that's what you all get to do. You're taking what you've learned, you're turning around and helping others. So as we close, what advice would you give to maybe the married couple right now that is either struggling in the midst of that challenge or raising kids and they feel like they're drowning? What would you share with them?
Of course, seek Christ. That's the obvious number one, because you can't do it without him. But some more, I guess, practical, if you will, reach out. So you have to reach out and get others in your corner that can support you and hold you up during, especially with marriage issues, that can hold you up during that time and help have an unbiased, I don't want to say opinion, but just that could just be there to support
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, support group, support system.
Of
That
course, professional
unbiased
counseling.
third party that can listen.
Yes, even
Yep.
professional counseling is obviously would be number one, but even just other people in the church that can just hold you up. But reaching out. Like
Yeah.
you can't stay at home and just try to work through things on your
Yeah.
own. So reach out. If everything else you've tried isn't working, just reach out. Like we're here, the church is here, you know, and also getting around other families that have similar values. So life groups
Yes.
have been a godsend for us. I mean, we have a life group we've been plugged in with, and then Daniel's got a couple of men's groups here
Yeah.
that he meets with, and same for me. I have a ladies group that I meet with tomorrow night. Anyway, from the church. So you create those close bonds with the members of the church that you can share these things with.
Share that
Accountability is very
with
important.
life.
Yep.
Yeah.
But bring it to light for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, Erin and Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I could have sat here and talked with you for the rest of the day. Just a lot of wisdom and insight there. And thank you, listener. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to share it with a friend and hit that follow button so that you don't miss out on any upcoming interviews. And if you are struggling and you need help, reach out to the church. Let us come alongside so you do not walk alone. We have people like Daniel and Erin that would love to come alongside and give you that shot of hope that maybe you need. I hope that what they said today encouraged you to go out and live your own faith story that not only changes your life, but helps you to be a spiritual influence in the lives of those around you as well.